So what time did everything begin to transpire on Sunday?
Around 10:30 is when it started.
Had you heard anything about the shooting in Monterey Park?
No, it was so close to when this incident at my studio happened that there was not enough time for the information to come to me.
So tell me what happened when you first saw him.
So when I first saw him, my thoughts were, oh my God, that's a gun. And what followed was the severity of what I saw. There's a weapon, and potentially people could get killed.
He had a handgun?
It was, I'm not too familiar with firearms, but it was some kind of high-capacity handheld weapon, similar to a handgun.
Was he brandishing it? Was he pointing at anybody?
Yes, he was actually aiming directly at me. But for some reason, the weapon, he hadn't shot it yet.
Did he say anything to you?
No, that was the scary part. When he came in, he said nothing. His face was very stoic. The expressions were mostly in his eyes, looking around, trying to find people, trying to scout the area for other people.
So how did you decide what to do?
Well, there was a moment I actually froze up because I had the belief that I was going to die. Like, my life was ending here at that very moment. But something amazing happened, a miracle actually. He started to try to prep his weapon so he could shoot everybody. But then it dawned on me that this was the moment to disarm him. I could do something here that could protect everybody and potentially save myself.
So you went for it?
Yes, I went for it. There was thought where I was thinking about my family and my friends, what their life would be without me. But even those were leisures I didn't have at the time because I was needed to take action. I needed to get his gun away.
We've seen this surveillance tape. Have you looked at it?
Yes, I have seen it once.
And watching it replay, does that bring the moment back into clarity?
Yes. Watching it, I remember the situation so clearly. Like, the feelings I had, the anxiety, the fear, but also the feeling of courage that came with that fear.
So describe what you did.
So, as I was saying, the gunman was preparing his weapon, like he was trying to, I'm not too sure, switch to firing mode because I'm not a gun expert, so I can't say what he was trying to do. But at that moment, I knew that his attention was diverted. So I slowly crept out of his sight because his gaze was on his weapon at the time. So maybe 2 steps, 3 steps, and then I was in a position where I could immediately rush him a straight beeline towards his gun. So I lunged at him and grabbed it with both my hands, holding on for dear life.
And did that seem to surprise him?
Yes, definitely. He actually tried to pull away and aim it towards me when I grabbed it.
At that point, you had no choice. You're locked in the struggle with him. Was your aim to take the gun away from him or just push him away?
At the beginning, my aim was to divert the gun away from anybody down onto the ground so that he couldn't shoot anyone that was inside the studio or myself. So I was trying to divert it away down to the ground in case he did fire. But then, he was also trying to retaliate against me. He was hitting me. He was trying to bump me, trying to shove me aside. At one point, he just made a mistake of trying to use his dominant arms to hit me and get me away. So at that moment, I knew I could take the weapon away because but not both his arms were on it.
So you wrestled the gun away from him.
Yes, that's correct.
And now you have the gun.
Yes.
And what is he doing?
He was trying to come closer to me so that I would not be in a position to do anything. But I had the upper hand here because it seemed like he was a little bit exhausted from all the hitting he was trying to do. So in one shove, I kind of just pushed him away, and then sort of, not casually, but sort of quickly aimed the gun at him and shouted, "Go away, I'm gonna shoot! Get out here, go!"
Are you pointing the gun at him as you're saying?
Yes, I was. Not with two hands, but I was directing him to leave with my other hand.
And did he initially leave?
Initially, no. He was contemplating for a moment, like he wanted to take the gun away. He wanted to fight for it. He wanted to stake his life on it. And this is when I realized I would have to shoot him if he tried it.
Were you prepared to shoot him?
I was not prepared, but I think I would have if he was trying to take the weapon away.
And you saw him leave and saw him go to the van?
I saw him exit the door and run into the alleyway.
And at that point, what happened?
At that point, I immediately knew what to do. I was like, I need to call the police. I need to let them know this guy had just left, because across the street, down the block, was a police station. So they could have caught this guy very fast if I called immediately.
And then did you hear about what had happened in Monterey Park?
I had not heard at that time. I was only notified when the police arrived and then debriefed me on some of the situations that had been happening.
And then you realized what this man was capable of doing.
Yes,
And
then
he
I realized.
could have done it in the Lilac where you were.
Yes, he could have.
Have you been able to get any sleep since this happened?
Yeah, sleep has been difficult. I've hardly had any sleep. And when I do get sleep, I wake up and just recall the situation that has happened to me.
It keeps running and
It
replaying
keeps running
in
through
your
my
head?
mind. It's very traumatic. I sometimes just shiver just thinking about what could have been.
Had you ever seen this man before? Did he look familiar?
No, he doesn't look familiar at all. This man, I'm guessing he could have been a clientele at some point, but he's not one of our regulars.
And you've seen the picture of him, obviously. You saw him in person, and he didn't look familiar.
He did not look familiar. The police, they asked me to identify him, and I immediately knew from the pictures who he was.
The other dance club where the shootings took place, what are your thoughts about what happened there?
It was a very tragic and unfortunate event. This was supposed to be a day of celebration and for people to have fun, but having someone come and ruin the lives and the families of this Chinese community of dancers is just so horrific.
Will it be hard to open the doors again?
I think it will be, because everybody will be scared. Everybody was scared to come back.
Are you still frightened?
Yes, even now I'm still frightened, thinking about that someone could have a gun out there just running about.
I just want to be clear, when you're struggling for the gun and you grab it, were you grabbing were you grabbing it by the grip, or do you remember where you were grabbing it?
One of my right hand was on the grip, between his hand and the gun, and my other hand was towards the front of the gun, the barrel even.
He could have easily, though, still pulled the trigger.
Yeah, he could have, but none of my bodies was in the way of the barrel, so there's no line of shot for him to hurt anybody.
It was closing time. There were only a few of you there. Did anybody else see what was going on?
Well, at the time, there was loud music. It was dimly lit. The people inside didn't notice because, our studio is very vast. There's a lot of moving space. So they were towards the other end of our establishment. They had no idea.
Do you feel, though, that you saved lives?
Oh, definitely. I feel like if I didn't do what I did, there would have been much more casualties.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.